Hey, all you HQDs and survivalists. I'm Mary Kwiatkowski, and I'm back with an all new double mega episode of Fox's new reality TV show, Extracted. Here we are talking about episode 9, Banished. And joining me, as always, is Chappell. Chappell, no exit interviews, no one gone this week, but wow, we got a lot.
Yes, 2-hour episode and no extractions. No extractions this time, but it does feel like we might be leading to a potential explosive finale. I don't know. Is this the penultimate episode? Do we have
I
two
think so.
episodes, 3 episodes? I'm pretty sure the next episode is the finale, right?
That's
And
what I'm
so
feeling. It's
yeah, I
feeling it.
mean, yeah, I don't think we have a room for a lot of other eliminations anymore. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited because we're about to come to the end. We're gonna crown a champion soon, and we got a big twist at the end of this episode that is going to shake things up and potentially change the game for somebody. Let's see.
Yeah, it was a lot. This whole episode was highs and lows and so many mostly lows, a lot of things going on. And it really begs the question of um do we think that they backloaded the season with a lot of this stuff, or we know from the exit interviews there are things that people have won, there are things that have happened
Mhm.
that were not on the show. Do we think every day, every episode basically could have been a double episode of stuff that they were doing that they just then trimmed down to, what they gave us? Because like there's a lot of people when they show like their supply list of what they have, there's a lot of stuff that were like, wait, when did they get a flashlight or
Mhm.
whatever? So I wonder if I don't know, it's interesting to have a 2-hour episode with no one going home this late in the game.
Yeah, I like that we are getting some more suspense built. I think for a long time, I think if they showed everything, it would look like a runaway for Jake. I do.
Yeah.
I really think that like he's so far out ahead to where there's not a lot that affects him. And if you had to show me, and no disrespect to Jake, because we've been calling it from the beginning that he is the one to beat, and it would be an amazing win. But it'd also be a very boring show if every day we had to tune in to see what else Jake did today that was amazing while everybody else just sat around and like fought for meager supplies while Jake needs nothing. And
Right.
so yeah, so I think they did. I think they saved a lot of the good stuff and kind of tried to give us some build up. I think that there's still time for maybe some switch ups in the rankings and who could possibly win this, but it's going to come down to the wire and it's going to be exciting to watch.
Yeah, it definitely will be. There was a lot that happened this episode that I think was interesting strategically. So we can get all into all of that. But first, I just want to remind everyone that you can watch Chappelle and myself talking about Extracted on YouTube at the Robin's Podcast YouTube channel, as well as find everything at WeKnowRealityTV.com and the We Know Reality TV feed. All right. So we left off the previous episode with what happened at the end of the previous episode. I'm trying to remember. Um, we
Oh, well, we got
got
the big betrayal, right? That is going to
right.
lead,
That's right.
yeah, going to lead our social queen Abby kind of in a tight spot.
Yes. So at the end of the previous episode, they had that challenge where they were all going to look in their crates, and it ended up being where Megan couldn't even find her crate. Haley opened her crate and got like a packet of tuna or something, and some water. And then both Woody and Jake had their crates empty, which clearly meant that Abby had not worked with Woody's family in the way that they had hoped. So we get a bit of a fallout of all of that. And because Haley is the only one who returned to her camp with anything, Blake is going to confront Abby for working against them. And basically, that's when we get that whole like, Jake's team just wants him to go to the end with 2 women, and Abby's crying and saying she wants to go home and doesn't want to be yelled at. So this is when we get kind of like we had it in the coming up soon, what you expect next
Mhm.
episode was Abby saying like, "Oh, it made me love those guys even more, the way they stood up for me." And so now we're seeing them stand up. And it's so Justin and Austin both confront Blake and Colin about making Abby cry. And I thought this was interesting. So
Mhm.
they're both like, "Hey, hey, like don't yell at Abby." But they're also like, that's such a bad look for y'all to say that we want to go to the end with some women. Like, we're not, like, you're making us seem sexist and misogynist. And I just thought it was interesting that the argument was don't make us seem like that's the reason we want to do it. Like we just want to go to the end with weaker competitors.
Yeah, yeah, it is. It's tough because what Blake is not okay. Okay, let me start with that. Blake is not okay. He is upset. He is there to protect his dad, and he's saying, yeah, it would be harder for him to go up against maybe some stronger guys than it would be the women, which Austin and Colin are, I'm sorry, Austin and Justin are pushing back and saying the fact that you're insinuating that women are just going to be naturally easier to beat is already a little sexist. Like you shouldn't even like because hey, like I said, Megan and Haley can both beat me swimming. That is a fact. I don't, like it does. Gender aside, like they can beat me swimming. I know that. I'm not getting in that water. I lost just off the thought of it, right? So insinuating that because Jake is a man and that these are two women, maybe that is insinuating that you think that maybe these women are easy to beat just because they're women, but you're also insinuating that they think that that because they're women, that's what Jake wants to do or what they want Jake to do. Now, that said, they are definitely flipping this on Blake. Blake is not wrong that Jake is probably the front runner. I would say his biggest competition in a vacuum would probably be Woody, but based on, what we've seen from the supplies and some of the wins, we've never counted Haley out at any point, and Megan is making a good run for it too. So maybe there's something to, he wants to go against these specific two girls, right now, but I don't think that insinuating that, it's their grand scheme to just get this down to the girls and then Jake can just steamroll. I can see why they'd be offended, but they are definitely flipping this on Blake as if he's talking like crazy talk. Like this is something that could be unheard of. And I think it's a valid critique. I do.
I think the second thing that Justin and Austin bring up is the main point anyway, which is that they're saying Jake can beat Woody anyway. Like we're not
right.
Like I think we've seen throughout the season, like ups and downs between when it comes to Haley, Megan, and Woody. They've been above each other. They've been below each other in terms of who we think is doing the best. So I think that Justin and Austin really should have just said, look, we're aligned with Abby and Jared because we're friends and we're hanging out with them. That's why we're working together. This has nothing to do with, the women or the men, but like we feel like we can beat anyone anyway. So this is just what it is. You kind of got to pick someone and you got to sabotage them. And I feel like, from Blake and Colin's perspective, it's the same kind of way. I think everyone has a really easy road to just say, look, sorry, Jake is way stronger than everyone else. He's got and I just mean mentally and physically has gotten more supplies, not necessarily in the crates, but he's won a lot of these things because he's clearly, even when he's getting empty crate, he's still not quitting. He's still mentally there. And so he's obviously the biggest competition. I don't think that Justin and Austin can really argue that he's not. And so it really just needs to be straightforward and just say yeah, look, if we want our people to win, we need to go against Jake. The end. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that Blake is defending his dad, and I think that's what this comes from, right? It's like he's like, okay, I think Woody could potentially, because I think he thinks about his dad highly, so he's like, I think Woody could potentially beat Jake, but I think that they are taking us out because Woody would be the biggest threat to Jake. Now, to your point, Mary, and ultimately what Austin is saying is that no, Woody is competition. But so are Megan and so are Haley, and Jake is probably going to beat all three of them. So we're not even taking that into consideration. But this is, again, Blake with his back up against the wall, kind of seeing his dad down and out. I don't know how you feel about this, but I feel like we're wasting Blake as a reality TV contestant. Often, too. I think both of them, could you see them on The Challenge or something like that?
On so many shows. Yeah. Oh, Blake and Austin both on The Challenge, I think would be really good. I think that they've got this mode of not caring whether or not they come across strategic or harsh or whatever, and they're really in it. And I think that that's good. I could see them on so many things.
Big Brother.
I think this is just the beginning for them.
Yeah, but they could be reality TV stars. Like if they wanted
Oh,
to,
for sure.
because they're both competitive and they kind
Mhm.
of say what they want to say. They say what they mean, and then you can tell that this is a competition for them, but they also feel a lot. So I enjoy them both. I enjoy it's kind of like they're not villains per se, but it does feel like two anti-heroes kind of going at it. Like
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's a weird dynamic, but I feel like we're wasting them. But I appreciate the energy coming from the two guys because again, this is crunch time. Whoever outflanks these people now is going to win the game, and so you have to pull out all the stops. And I think that's just where Blake landed.
And the fact of the matter is, Blake and Colin have been going against Justin and Austin and vice versa for weeks now. Even when there were other men in the game, it's not, at this point, there's just two other teams that are both women. But like for both of them, I think it would be pretty easy at this point to both look at each other and be like, are they just wanting to go to the end with women, and not necessarily
Mm-hmm.
women because it's weaker, but like women because it's not me, because it's not Woody,
Mm-hmm.
because it's not Jake. And so I don't think that it was super far-fetched to be putting out that theory. Whether or not I
Mm-hmm.
think that it's like, I don't think it was really this calculated move. I think
Yeah.
it's less black and white when it comes to that, and more just like, I don't want to go against uh the other,
You.
Woody or Jake.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
neither of them
That's
want to
it.
go to
Yeah.
the end. So,
You.
yeah.
Exactly.
So I think that's more of it. Then Jared comes out and he apologizes to Blake and says, strongest competitors out there are Jake and Woody, and he views them about evenly. Now, Jared has kind of he's been creeping up in terms of doing more and more of these last few episodes. And I definitely feel like the way that we're seeing Jared is saying things. He's trying to be diplomatic. He's trying to be kind of even. And I think sometimes, especially when Blake's looking at it, he's like, look, no, Woody and Jake are not even. Don't try to get
Mm-hmm.
this, And I don't think that Jared's really being like super calculated. I don't think that he's like trying to be that way, but it does sort of come across like, don't tell me that 50-year-old
Mm-hmm.
frail Woody is the same as Jake, who's just got a giant, piece of salmon.
Abby got it from somebody. Okay, that's all I'm gonna say. I think that this is the Jared genes. Like Jared's like, hey, I passed down what I learned. What I know when it comes to manipulation. I think that you go in and you say these things because that's what you have to say. If he came in and said Jake is the strongest by far, but we're really good friends with him, and so we're not going to turn on him. We're turning on you. There is going to be backlash. So
Mhm.
Mr. Social Game himself says, no, they're even. What are you talking about? It was a coin toss. There's no hard feelings here. This is what he should be doing. Put Jared on Big Brother. Put him out there. Let him do his thing. I'm
Uh,
sorry. Some of these people, it's subtle, but they're doing what they need to do, and I appreciate it.
I like it. Yeah. And then Jared, look, what I wouldn't give for my like best friend's dad to stand up for me this way. And he's like, it is unacceptable how you've acted around Abby. She's extremely upset. And then Blake's like, yeah. Okay, I agree. That's a decent ask to just not
Yeah.
yell at Abby anymore. So yeah, fair. That
Yeah.
was fun.
But
Um,
Mary, I
uh-huh.
agree that Jake should be targeted over Woody, but I don't think it's that Woody is that far behind Jake when he's like bragging about being fine. That's the thing. Jared is saying like, they're pretty comparable. And to us watching at home, we're like, no, they're not. To Blake, he's like, no, they're not. But when you put the camera on Woody, just what was this? Just one episode ago? I don't need anything in my box. I'm doing great.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? Like Woody, again, perception is the strategy here for the people outside. And if you're walking around talking about how great you are, then us on the inside have to assume that you're doing fine. And so, Woody, you're not making life any easier for yourself by being like, I don't need anything. I'm back, baby. Because it's not paying off now in the long run.
Out of everyone we've seen on the show, I think Woody and Woody, I know you listen, I know you enjoy the podcast. I think that he is the worst about telling like the things he says to camera. And
You
to,
got to stop
to
talking
be
to the
fair to
camera.
him, he probably doesn't know that everything's being shown, but like the things he says are definitely the ones that get the most like, ooh,
Mm-hmm.
what's he saying?
Yeah.
You're saying the quiet part out loud here. Like
Yeah. The
keep that one
camera
under wraps.
operator is fed with Woody.
Oh yeah.
Skippy is on Woody every 2
Uh-huh.
seconds, like
Yeah.
because
It's
he's
great.
got so many zingers. It's just you go to him and he's mad, he's gonna tell you. If he's sad about something, he's gonna tell you. He's complaining, he's talking directly to the boys half the time, like y'all can't do any better than this. So yeah, put Woody on Big Brother too. Just
Yep.
put all these people on TV again. We need this.
So at this point, we should talk about something. So
Mm,
let me just get this up, and we talked about it. This is kind of the elephant in the room. Talked about this a bit last time. Our Showmance watch and everything when it comes to Abby and Austin, and we've noted all the friendship and the moments between them and everything. But I've got to say, Showmance no more.
LOL. JK.
Just kidding. Oops. Look, look, we're just watching the show. We're just having fun. We're just watching the show. But it has come to our attention that this man is married. So so you know what? Look, if you're like us and you just live in the world of the show that is presented to you,
Hmm.
I can understand why
Right.
you might be like, oh no, not our not our fake showmance that didn't exist. But to Austin and his family out there, we take it back.
Yeah,
So
we
we,
take it
we
back.
take it all back.
You didn't hear anything. Don't look.
Don't look at us.
Yeah.
We put a question mark on that episode title. Don't worry about it.
Tough week for Abby. She's down in her social game is cracking. Her alliances are fighting each other, and now she lost her showmance.
Oh, so sad.
The queen, diva down,
Yeah.
diva down.
So we take it all back. It's not
Mhm.
real. You can just ignore that fact.
We made that
Not
up.
a thing. Not a
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
But what we do have are some alliances. So I've got our handy
Ooh.
dandy little alliance chart here. We do have Abby and Jared and Megan, unbeknownst to Megan, who is aligned
Yeah.
with Austin and Justin and Jake here. Whereas Megan and Haley sort of have made a deal, which for some people who were listening to the podcast last week were a little confused on that. The deal was made after the swimming challenge when they were coming back. The two women had
Mhm.
said, like, let's work together, let's not go against each other, let's try to get to the final. But after the previous episode of a potential three-way alliance against Woody, Carly and Natalie flip sides and are now working with Blake and Colin, and so that is our second alliance there, all of which are still going strong.
I have issues with these alliances. I still say we had Ryan last week who was right there. He was right there. If y'all could have scooped up Ryan, you could have just jumped Jake. That is the goal. Jake should not be coming in here this round with an alliance. There's no world where anybody should want to work with him. And so, like, while it's working out for Abby and Megan in the short term, I really think that if you're going to take somebody out of the game, when Woody and Blake's team are complaining because they got hit a few times, when I still stand by, like, yeah, I think everybody should have went after them after Jake. I think that it behooves everybody to take down Jake. And for Jake's team, they should be trying to keep everybody at bay. They're doing exactly what they should be doing. I feel like they got everyone else got outflanked by letting Ryan W go home.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it really worked out that way. And we're even going to see in this episode Megan saying to the camera, like, we love Jake. He's so nice, but like we like he's my biggest competition. And meanwhile, Abby's like, Megan doesn't know what alliances have been formed. That's fine, but
Mhm.
we're at the end. It's great that you have an alliance with Jake, but unless you want to win, like, listen to Megan.
Yeah. Listen to Megan. Look, Megan's not even seeing what we're seeing. Okay. Megan has seen Jake I'm sure the show is editing a lot of stuff out. So maybe they've run across each other a couple more times than we've seen. But every time that we've seen them, it's been very brief. And even Megan knows that Jake is far and away the person to beat. She has not seen the big ass huge fish that he got.
Right.
She hasn't seen all the stuff like his amazing MTV Crib style home that he's living in, and she even knows, like, nah, it should be Jake. I think that if I'm going to have any criticism of the other teams, it's that we haven't all aligned to take out Jake prior to this. It feels like it might be a little too late.
Yeah, I agree. I feel that way. But let's talk about some of the other stuff from the episode. So we start out the episode, a little bit of a status update. Jake is in yellow, everyone else is in orange at the beginning of the episode. So not great. It's really the days are taking their toll at this point. And after all of the fallout from the previous trial, we get another supply drop. So in this one, families are going to stand behind a random crate that all have different things inside, all, I guess I'll just say, heavy air quotes, food items inside them. They will all look in their crate and then choose whether or not they will switch with another team or keep it. And then the order is going to be picked from random. So it's kind of confusing because like you can switch at the beginning, but then someone can switch right back with you. So the order you go, it definitely benefits you to go last here at the end. But it's random, sort of a white elephant kind of thing ish, I guess. So Megan's family looks, they've got grubs, live grubs. It looks like Woody has a steak, Jake has apple and peanut butter, and Haley has roasted crickets. So definitely sort of some things that are better than other. We're going to end up doing these switches, and we're going to see this a lot this episode, that in some of these sort of more minor decisions that are going to be made that are not super crucial, Abby and Jared are going to basically give the short end of the stick to Austin and Justin in order to kind of save face and not, as they say, start World War III with Blake and Colin.
But how do you feel about that, Mary? Like, what do you think about the idea that you want to still keep the peace here, as opposed to just, if you're not aligned with them, just barraging them and taking them out of the game?
Here's what I'll say. Best case scenario, they realize that Jake really is their biggest competition, and so they're trying to not help him. They're not trying to hurt him, but they're not trying to help him. More likely, they're just sort of doing a half measure here, and they're kind of
It feels like a half measure.
Yeah, a little bit. So basically, once all the trading happens and everything kind of shakes out, and the one that I really like here is that Carly is going to shake her head at Blake and Colin to not trade with them, knowing that the thing they have, which I think is the crickets at that point, that Woody is not going to eat them, and so they're trying to signal actually like, hey, I have a bad thing, like don't do this, which I think is nice. But again, Carly and Natalie this episode, similar to Abby and Jared, like they kind of take too many things, they kind of let too many things slide, take too many like negative options just in order to like keep the peace, and I don't know, I don't know that they should be doing that either.
So they have accurately assessed that although they are aligned, or at least were aligned with Jake to some extent, they have now flipped. They have now flipped their allegiance, and I think they should be. I think they should definitely be working with Woody, and they should definitely be working with Megan's team as well to take out Jake. So I like that they flipped. But you're right. I think that, again, I think the flip is a little too late, because now you're helping Woody, or at least trying to avoid hurting Woody's team. So now Haley has to suffer by eating like roasted crickets. Now, don't get me wrong.
Right.
Haley can eat the crickets. I think that, like, for some reason, Haley is one of the most fascinating people I've ever heard of in my life. They're like, oh no, Haley would love roasted crickets. It's going to take her back to a nostalgic time in our lives where we ate cricket. I'm like, what is happening? But for some reason, they're like, no, this is good. I personally think people should be on the offensive right now. And it does feel like everyone's kind of trying to ease into like the middle ground of, if people are shooting, I don't want to get shot at. And so I'm not going to shoot at anybody either. And it's fine, but I would appreciate a little bit more aggressive gameplay especially from Haley's team, because Haley's team, I think if they could get rid of somebody like Jake, then I think it might be Haley's game to lose. But since they're kind of, playing kind of like soft aligned with Woody's team a little bit, it's like, I think just Jake is just too far ahead to play it slow like this. I think it should be awful steam ahead against him. And so, yeah, I agree. I think they're letting too much slide.
Yeah, I think so. But the way it all ends up shaking out is that we're going to end up with Austin and Justin getting Jake the grubs. They're kind of all just like, yeah, we know this is the worst, but we're hoping that he can use them as bait. Haley's family does end up with the roasted crickets, which I'll just say, look, I've had these like roasted, dried bug kind of things. The crickets aren't bad. Like a lot of times, I don't know if these ones are, they're like lightly salted. So like that's kind of good. I mean, it's not great, but like certainly better than if you ended up with the grubs. And then let's see, Megan's going to get the peanut butter and apple, and Woody's team is going to get the steak. Oh my God. Okay, so this is what happens. They all get their boxes. And like you mentioned, Haley's kind of fine with it. She tries to eat some. My favorite thing was when she was like, I don't mind it. She bites in one. I kind of mind it. This is
I kind of mind it. Yeah.
Yeah. I do love that. And then meanwhile, we've got a really kind of like emotional moment with Megan when she like cries over the apple and peanut butter. So I don't know. I guess that was cute. Jake ends up trying to boil some of the grubs and does eat them. And here's the thing. I feel like I would do that too. I feel like I would try that and then probably be like, this is gross. But I don't know. Thought that was interesting.
He could use it as bait. That was the other reason why they're like, okay, Jake can take the grubs because he's creative enough to think to like, all right, I can't eat it, but I could use it still.
Yeah. Now we're just gonna say, look, again, Woody, we love you. This was not your best episode.
Woody said, I have more faith in Elvis coming back than I do in the supply drop. And I thought, damn, Woody, it's not the supply drop that's going to get you.
So he gets this steak and he doesn't have any fire. So he tries to use the bow drill to start the fire, which again, I don't even know. Like, why does he not have flint? Did he get that taken away from him? I don't remember. Probably.
Maybe. I think so. So.
He chucks the steak into the lake. Doesn't he have a bear container? Why not just at least think for a second, like, I'm gonna put this steak in the bear container and put in the cold water, to keep it refrigerated, and I will try again tomorrow when I have more energy, or like maybe I'll get something or like
supply drop, some flint,
Let me ask you this, Chappell. If you're out there and it's 15, 16 days, how many days it is, would you try the raw steak?
I'm gonna figure out how to eat the steak. Yeah, like the steak.
Would you,
the last
would you
thing
eat
getting
some
in the
raw.
I might. Like Blake was saying, like I've had carpaccio. I've had beef tartare. We've done this before. Like it's just cut a little thin piece off and see what happens. I don't think that it is advised. I would definitely not want to do that. But I think the last thing I would do is throw the steak into the water.
I would never do that.
Like that. That's just not it. If I gotta leave the steak out in out in the open and hope to like use that piece of meat to lure some type of small animal over there, I would do anything but throw that steak in the water. The steak would outlast me because it would just be, I'm holding on to this for dear life, hoping and praying that there's a way I can eat this at one point.
Yeah, I don't know. It was such an ironic turn of events. So yeah, he doesn't eat the steak. It's terrible. Throws that away. And it's like, Woody, this was your team and everyone else trying to get you something, and you're not helping. But
I had a good laugh. I love Woody because Woody's fed up. He's fed up. He's tired of these empty boxes. He's tired of getting his stuff taken. He's tired of digging these holes. Like that's how I get when I see Woody. I was so excited to see him on screen because I know he's gonna say something crazy, and then he does this. I'm thinking, yeah, he's over it. He's just done. You take away my flint and then you give me a steak I can't eat. You take away this, you give me that. You give me all these boxes and they're empty. Just leave me alone. I bet Woody's like, I don't want no more supply drops. Just let me lay out here and do this on my own. He's over it. I love it.
Yeah. So then we get another challenge or situation thing. There's a supply crate that's just sitting in the corner of HQ. It's just chilling there. Let me just say, this was kind of a nothing burger, this whole thing.
Well, because again, look how they use it. So Jared finds the box. Mind you, Blake and Colin are basically sleeping on top of it and don't even see it. And so Jared finds it, and it turns out that you can cut the camera feed from your one of your opponents for 4 hours. You can't do it for yourself, but you have to use it on somebody. And they kind of hit Jake's team with a, you don't really need to see Jake for 4 hours. Like what's going to happen to Jake in 4 hours? And Jake seems like, yeah, cool, we'll take that L, because they know absorbing this blow will allow them to lobby later on. It's the same reason why I was complaining about them early on, where I was like, you don't need to get everything. You didn't necessarily need the letters. You need, you want to, take somewhere else. So when you get to the point where you really, really need something, you can put your foot down and say, no, we haven't gotten anything else. And so they eat this. They're like, oh yeah, 4 hours without having to see Jake, that's fine. Now, I think if you are truly aligned with Jake, you do this to Blake and Woody and Colin. You do this to them because we've seen in the past, the people outside in the wilderness might not quit, but you could probably get the people on the inside to quit.
Yeah.
And I think if you do this, as mad as Blake has been, he either gonna quit or they're gonna walk him out the door, because I don't think he's gonna be able to handle this one. So I don't know. I think that it could have been something, especially if you could decide when to use it, right? Like, I don't know if they got a lot of options. Like, you had 24 hours to use it. You could have done it whenever.
I think it was something like that. They said it had to be during the day was one thing I noticed.
Okay. Yeah. So I was like, I don't know if you could time it to a point where it's something like it would be really beneficial to see your person. But to me, watching your person suffer is the hardest part of the game. So I'm like, cut my feed, please. I don't want to see it. I want to just sit here and chill for a little bit and not have to hear, like they were saying, I don't want to hear Jake's heavy breathing. I don't want to hear them complaining. I don't want to see them struggle. So I feel like it could have done something, Mary, but they just kind of let Jake's team absorb it. And, it's what Jake's team should have done.
And the thing is, Jake ends up getting his feed cut. And Austin and Justin just spend that whole 4 hours just being like, oh, this is chill, whatever. Oh, look how nice of a day it is. We're going to read or whatever. They go out and they do their gratitudes on the rock and all that. And it's just like, yeah, this didn't hurt them at all. But I do think it will allow them in other times to be like, oh, look, we've gotten empty boxes. We've had this. And I think the other team should be like, yeah, but it didn't hurt you to, get that. So it's kind of a nothing all around. I do think if either of the girls' feeds had been cut, that would have been hard on the people in HQ. And I same with Blake and Colin. So it was kind of like this was but what's weird is I'm trying to think let's say if Natalie and Carly or if Blake and Colin had gotten it, do you think they would have blocked Megan's feed?
I think you have to. Yeah, because I think blocking Jake's feed does nothing.
Yeah,
I think at that point, I think you have to go after Megan's feed and then look at Abby and Jared and be like, oops, what do you want us to do? Y'all are working with them. Good luck, and see if they can handle it. And man, Megan's feed be popping. Like bears be showing up on her feed. So I would be very stressed if I was like, you go cut Megan's feed? No, we gotta see Megan. We gotta, I don't know. I would have been. Yeah, I think that's the move. I think if you're anybody but Jake's team, and I guess anybody else should be putting this on Megan or Blake and Colin or Haley. Jake's team should be trying to get this on them. Please put this on us, because the next time our name comes up, we're getting whatever it is. You cannot keep punishing us and expecting us to play ball and just be okay with it. It's not okay.
Yeah. And I think that's also clear, as that we'll see later in this episode. Austin and Justin are totally fine taking the hits that mean nothing, but they're not going to take the big hits without a fight. So we see that Haley's team, so Carly and Natalie, are going to make up a system with Blake and Colin about like this whole 1-2 system that they're going to be signaling to each other. 1 means Jake, 2 means Megan, in terms of who they will be targeting at different points in the game. It comes up a few times in this episode, but basically just showing like they're thinking free game for the two of them. They're not really super trying to protect Megan, even though Haley made a alliance with her, which is, again, I stand by, this is the most fun part of the show for me, is the fact that the people in HQ are playing a completely separate game from the survivalists. I know that some people watching the show are like, why don't we see the survivalists as much? Because they're sitting there. They're not doing anything. Like, the game is HQ. The game is, you can do whatever you want out there. Your goal as a survivalist is literally just to survive. It's not necessarily about thriving. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. There's pros and cons to thriving. There's pros and cons to, being appearing weaker. But the game is, what is your crew doing for you? How are they, kind of judging it?
Yeah. This was it's fun to watch the people on the inside maneuver because we don't get any real, aside from Megan and Haley talking that one time, we don't get any real alliance talks. If you want there to be more to watch for the outside people, then we need to have them intermingling a lot more, in those early stages, right? Like when we still are looking at some of our, like when Davina's still in the game. Why hasn't Davina ever met Megan? Like
Right.
those are the types of interactions that could potentially start to cause some drama with things outside of HQ. But since there ain't that going on inside HQ, we want to stir the pot as much as possible. We want to see people play the game, make alliances, and have to deal with the consequence. If you burn me and you hurt my loved one outside, then I have the opportunity to burn you back. And that's
Exactly.
where the fun is.
Yes. So we're going to get another survival trial. This one, the family members are going to send their survivalist equipment to make a torch, and then they will need to take that torch and go light a bonfire. A little bit unclear about how they know how to get to the bonfire. Maybe they have a map, whatever. We're not really sure.
Mm-hmm.
None of them seem to have a super hard time with that. The main thing is that they have to decide unanimously which survivalist is not going to compete. And this is again the whole half measure thing is that, and I do kind of understand where they're coming from. So Carly and Natalie are like, look, this might be the time to try and hit Megan. And so if we let Megan participate in this, maybe she'll burn herself out. She has not been shown to be good at making fire, so she's not going to win it. And maybe she'll get dejected and tired, which she has in previous challenges. Just the previous day looking for the crate, isn't able to find it, So I don't think this was the worst decision. It doesn't end up working out the way they hope it will.
Yeah, I thought it was an interesting strategic moment where they thought, okay, we'll try to break Megan kind of like passively, like we'll let her participate. She won't win. She's going to exert a lot of energy. Megan's not the best navigator either. Like we've seen her really struggle with finding the crates when the time comes. So I thought it was an interesting choice. But do you think there's something they could have done differently? Do you think that they should have attacked this head on and just been like, no, we need Haley to participate and try to get try to win this? Or is it just like Jake is going to win it regardless? Should they be taking out Jake? What do you think, Mary?
I think the argument would probably be let's try to prevent Jake from winning just to give someone else a chance to win.
See, the issue I'm having is that it has to be unanimous. If I'm
Yeah.
Jake's team, there's no way I'm letting Jake sit out of this. Nope. Sorry.
Yeah. I
Nope.
think that is part of the problem, which is going to rear its ugly head in the next survival trial. But yeah, I think the thing is this was probably your only option is to fight with Megan's team and hope that either nobody gets something. And I think it's an underrated choice to just say, look, nobody's going to get it. I may not get it, but I'd rather prevent anyone from winning.
Yeah. So do you think that should have been the move here? Because later on, I'm going to advocate for nobody getting something.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
But this one,
that's the way.
Yeah.
This one is tricky because I think because they don't know what's coming up, like I said, it's not that big of a deal to say, okay, we're just going to sit this one out. Especially if you're looking at it and you're like, I don't know that Haley would be able to win this one. So maybe it's not that big of a sacrifice to make. Hopefully it'll gain us some goodwill. We're seeing this weird thing with Megan's team and Haley's team tiptoeing around each other, knowing that the girls have this alliance, but that they don't really have an alliance. And so that's what's hard. So I don't think it was the worst thing, but it doesn't end up working because they end up building their torches. And honestly, a lot of this stuff about like, which torch building choices do you want? None of the torches burned out, so it kind of didn't end up mattering. The thing that mattered the most was just that Blake and Colin pick a torch building supplies that includes vegetable oil, and the vegetable oil ends up getting all over a lot of Woody's fire making equipment, and so he has a harder time starting the fire. It's hard to tell how close this actually was. Like, if the oil had not gotten all over it, could Woody have won? I don't know. Maybe
it'd been tough. I mean, it would have been tough. It's still Jake, right? And so, but yeah, this is showing another time where Woody is very frustrated with the people in headquarters. He's like, come on, man. You should be wet gear. Mary, if you were given these options, could you have made a torch?
Yeah, I think so. I mean,
Yeah, I don't think
I'm
I could have done this.
but I'm sure based on the fact that they all did it, I'm sure there's like survivalist books in HQ that are like, here's how to build a torch and all that.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
I don't know, like they put up on our screen when they show the torch building equipment, they show like here are the pros and cons in each of them. And if you read all of
Mhm.
them, it's like clearly the bear fat and cotton is by far the best. I don't know what they were told. It seemed like the reason that Blake and Colin picked the vegetable oil one was just that Blake and Colin, or Blake in particular, was like, I don't know anything about bear fat, so I know vegetable oil is a thing. Let's go with that one. I mean, the one with the pine cone was the dumbest one, right?
It was. And I just thought, like, what would, in my mind, what would make me think, oh yeah, let me get the pine cone? You know, like, it just sounds like,
I don't know.
even if you lined up the options, the pine cone. It's the pine resin and the pine cone. That's what gets me.
Like that one didn't have any like at least the cotton and the burlap are like wrappable, you know, to like hold
Yeah.
everything together. So I don't know. Anyway, but they all like all of the people end up building a fire and end up lighting their torches and getting their torches to the bonfire. So it's all fine. Woody gets out of this. So everybody gets something out of this basically. Jake wins and he's going to end up getting I think a steak or some other kind of meat or something from this.
Mistake. Mhm.
Yeah, and then Woody gets Flint, so good. I guess they get to keep that. And then Megan gets I don't know, the joy of a job well done. It seemed to like reinvigorate her a little bit.
Yeah, she's hyped. She thought she couldn't make a fire. She had been struggling with
Yeah.
it, and now she's shown I can actually do this. I think, like you said, it backfired on Natalie and Carly because it seems like we have a better Megan than we had before she went and exerted all this energy.
Yeah, definitely. So that didn't really work out super great, but at least Haley didn't expend any energy. Uh oh well, unclear about whether she got any fire making equipment out of this either. I don't know since the other ones did, but
Yeah.
it's not going to matter that much in a little bit.
No,
No.
no. And this is where I guess the blackout card gets played. We see, Abby and talking to Jake's
Yeah.
family and being like, you know, it would do the least amount of hurt to everybody else if Jake just took this. And they're like, okay, fine.
And they literally play it like right when Jake gets his steak. So it's like, okay, Jake's probably gonna spend the next hour like building a fire, cooking his
They're
steak, and
trying to
eating
make the
that. So
steak.
like
Yeah.
this is nothing that we need to watch, right? Like it's just him
Hmm.
being great. And actually, if anything, it might have been like, hey, let's like hide the feed so that like the other people aren't jealous that Jake is eating this
Yeah.
steak. You know, they don't get to watch it either. So I don't know. That was interesting. Then we do get the nighttime wildlife alert. What'd you think about the bear stuff?
This is crazy. I was like, I try to like read Jarrett sometimes because they talk about how he's kind of got his game face on at all times. But to me, it did feel like he was disturbed. Like, hey,
I thought he was going to actually push the button at some
right.
point. Although
Like,
I
hey,
don't know, like
niggas out there, bro. Like, I don't like this.
here's a wider question that's going to come up a lot, probably, you know, at the end of the episode too. But like, production's not going to allow Megan to get mauled by a bear, right?
Right. There has to be like a sniper with a tranquilizer gun,
Like someone's
like
gonna like pop
yeah,
in and like do
right.
something. So I mean, I'm not saying nobody would extract someone during that time,
Okay.
but like what's the point of extracting someone?
But Mary, you and I have watched a bunch of seasons of Survivor. Do you remember back in like the Survivor Africa days where they have to keep the fire burning all night so the
Yeah.
lions won't come? I even wondered then, what do you mean? What if so what y'all gonna do if the lion do come? You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
what that I've always struggled with that because I always felt like there's no way you are leaving these people out there just being like, keep your fire going or you're gonna die. It just to me that just doesn't ring true. Do you feel like the production does set up situations where that animals can get close, but not that close?
I mean, I think it's great for production to have the bear there and be like, "Ooh, look how intense this is.
Look at
Look
the
how scary it
bear.
is." But if production is not going to allow Megan to get hurt, and same thing with Haley later on, then I feel like they're not going to allow someone to die on
Right.
camera. on this
Eh,
show. So I wouldn't
yeah.
worry too much about it. If I'm like the people in HQ, like I'd be nervous, like, oh my gosh, that's so scary. Look at look at my daughter and there's a bear right there. But
I mean, I'm definitely talking to the producers. Mary, if you're out there, I'm like, hey, hey, excuse me. So the bear, what do y'all got something like y'all gonna talk about? Like, cause she sleep. Like, do I need like are y'all gonna wake her up? Is there like a button she can press? Like not extracting, but like a hey, come get the bear button. Because Megan's a badass. She scares the bear away.
yeah.
She like, I think there's something out there, and she like makes it booga booga booga. You know, and the bear takes off running like, oh God, Megan, I didn't see you there. But to me, if I'm Jared, I need to speak to a manager. Somebody needs to talk to me about the bear situation. Is she okay? Is she going to be okay? They've been out there for weeks though, at least 2. This can't be the first bear that stumbled across anybody's camp. So I'm assuming they have some type of system. I just don't know what that would be.
Yeah, this one was just the first one where it was like 2 bears, mama and the cub, like walking
Yeah.
around on the camera. Although I don't even know if they ever really showed like the bears in the same shot as Megan. It was hard to tell because at night, like
Mhm.
what is her shelter?
Right. And
Um,
how what's the parameters on this camera thing, right? Like, she got
right.
like 50 yards? Is it 100 yards? We just know they crossed into her territory, I guess.
Yes. Yeah. But yeah, she spooks the bear, which is something that I learned as a kid growing up. Like black bears, you just like
Make
yell
yourself
loud,
big and
make
yell.
yourself big. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
I saw that on
yeah.
Family Guy.
Yeah. I mean, I've mentioned it already, but the black bear that I saw recently, literally me and my brother, we just like ah. We're just
Just
like,
left.
what are we supposed to be doing? We're supposed to look big, right? Yeah. But all right. So then we get to the big one, the big thing this
Yeah,
episode, the
I'm
survival
ready.
challenge, the next one. One survivalist is going to be forced to abandon their camp and shelter and move into a deeper part of the forest. They will have to start over from nothing, and they can only bring 1 canteen of water and 3 items of their choosing. Everyone will have 5 minutes to decide unanimously, or all of them will have to relocate. Now, here's what I will say for this. Yeah, this is the only decision that could have possibly been made.
Right. There's no way. There's no
Yeah.
way. There's
You
no way.
you do not, if you are any of the families, but particularly Jake's family, it only makes sense for all of the other families to say, we want Jake's family to be punished. We want Jake to be punished because he is the strongest. And so we want to weaken him and even out the playing field.
Mhm.
But for Jake's family, they're thinking, no, I don't want the playing field to be evened out. We are doing the best, and we will still do the best if everyone is, forced to relocate. So
Mhm.
yeah, this makes sense. And unfortunately, I think everyone saw the writing on the wall and they're like, there is literally nothing we can do. If
No.
there was, I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think who from this season. If this point, if Ryan H is still here and Candace and Roger are there, I think they would be the only ones who I could potentially see saying something like, all right, well, Ryan's already struggling, so I guess we'll just have him be the one to abandon his
Mhm.
shelter or whatever.
But that's
And I
it.
think,
Like, they're the only ones, and
yeah.
even then, I don't think it's not a high percentage that they would do that.
And I think that this does show how strong all of these competitors are, in
Mhm.
that when Ryan had his stuff taken away, he was like, yeah, I can't go through this anymore. Whereas the rest of them, and I wonder if they were told, I presume they were. Do you think that all of these contestants were told you were all restarting? Or do you think any of them thought they were the only one?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think that if you think you're the only one, then it hurts a lot more.
Right. And
Like,
so I
it
think that they might have
stings.
all just been like, okay, this is the final phase of the game. This is kind of like on Survivor when you're like,
Yeah.
you merge or something, and they'll tell you, okay, you have to move to a new beach and start over. Like that
Mhm.
happens sometimes. And everyone's kind of like, okay, this sucks, but we're all in this together. And I think that appeared to be more what their reactions were.
Yeah, but I love this from Team Jake.
Yeah.
There's just no notes, because if it's not you, it's going to be you.
Right.
There's no world where these people are either going to put it on you or you're going to put it on yourself, and everyone is going down with you. And I'm thinking everybody needs to go down with me, because Jake has shown from the beginning that with the least he can do the most, probably.
Right.
And this could break everybody. It probably won't break Jake. And even if you thought that it could, everyone was going to target you anyway. So there really was no way. Like Jake was getting punished regardless. It was just a matter of if he was going to get punished by himself or with everybody else. And so this was a no-brainer. Dig your feet in, get them all to start over, and then hope that one of them just says, I'm not doing this, and quits. And then you got it down to the final 3 at that point. Yeah, I do like the idea that they tried to be like, I mean, Jake, don't y'all want Jake to start? Stop shenanigans. Like at least they attempted to float the idea out there.
It was good that they put their foot down.
Mm-hmm.
I think the only argument, and I don't think it's better than what they did, would be if this was earlier in the season where you are assuming you're going to be able to get more supply drops or something. I could see where Jake's team would say, okay, we need to lessen the target on Jake's back or something. But I think the fact that there's 4 people left and they know they're close to the end game, that's just not a hit you can be willing to take.
Oh, yeah. If this is pre-Jacobin, then yeah, you go move. Yeah. Go move. Since then, we've seen Jake win a damn steak. He's won a big-ass fish. You know, like Jake has been racking stuff up since Jacobin has been gone. Even while Jacobin was there. But I think if you right around that time, you can take a back seat and then no one can attack you at that point. If they do, you can take it very personally. Jake is probably going to win more things and you can still use that as like, y'all have like, we've given up our spot for y'all. You know, y'all are coming after us. Jake is not the front runner anymore. It can get some of those guns pointed at everybody else. But now it's the final 4. Everyone knows that if Jake is down, you kick him. You know, like you double tap. He's when you get a shot at Jake now, you have to take it. And so they did everything perfect here. And I think this is why I've been saying for 2-3 episodes now, all guns should be pointed at Jake because now everybody is starting from square one. But Jake at square one is some of these people at square like 2 and 3.
Yeah, and I think it's the kind of thing where you can't I understand why Carly and Natalie are so upset that they're having to restart and they're like, this isn't fair, this isn't even. Exactly. That's what Jake's team want. I know why you're upset that you're all having to do this, but it's not a thing that it's a unanimous decision, so it's not a thing that needs to be forced on someone. And actually, I like that this has to be a unanimous decision because if it was just a vote, I think the vote is coming down to Jake getting. I think Abby and Jared vote for Jake in this scenario, and I think that if it was a vote 3-1, whatever, I think Jake's getting hit. I like that this game did not just allow the front person to be completely cut down just based on them being the front person.
Mary, I don't know if I agree. Now that I'm thinking about it, yeah. Because I think, let's say next season goes, right? Next season happens. And we've already seen how the game is played. Now, it incentivizes someone like Jake to not be the front runner, you know, to kind of maybe build up like a meat shield strategy or like to do what you just said. It's like, we're so far out ahead, but should we be? Should we take some more of these L's early on? I think that if it gets to the point where you have to vote, let's say they all do finally go after Jake. Megan's team, Haley's team, Woody's team say, Jake, you gotta go. We voted you down to, scraps. Okay, cool. But now Abby has to show her hand. You know, I think the suspense is, can we tie this up? What happens if it's Abby and Jake versus, or Abby and Jake's team versus, Haley's team and Woody's team? You know, I think that adds a little bit more drama. So I agree with you that I don't like that it would be just like, all right, you've been winning, so down with Frazier. But I think here for suspense and for drama, yeah, you want Jake looking at Abby, Jake's team looking at Abby and them going, really, you're gonna just throw us to the wolves like this? You know, this felt like, oh no, we all lost together, so nobody really. Nah, I feel like you're getting off too easy. Carly and Natalie came here to play. Let them play. Let them play the game. Let them vote. I think we should implement more voting, Mary. I don't know. This unanimous thing was it. I get more drama when people have to show their hands. And I don't think you have to show your hands when it has to be unanimous or or the other option is just everyone take the L.
But the way I want this game to work is I want anyone to be able to win. And I feel like if they're voting, that's a little bit too close to basically the people in HQ straight up voting someone out. I mean, I don't think that Jake would have quit, but I think it's tricky. I don't know. I could kind of go either way.
You know what? Honestly, I think if it wasn't Jake, I might feel different. Because I think because we know how good Jake is, I'm thinking, yeah, they took Jake out, but I still think Jake could win the game, even, with that deficit, with less stuff. I think that if it comes down to something physical, like a race or something like that, I think that if you let Jake have it, he can still catch the people. They're not going to be that far ahead of him. But I think, like, let's say it's, Jake and Woody's team have decided we're going to vote. We're going to go out here. It's going to be the strong. We're going to take the strong people to the end. And now they're like, all right, Megan, you go. And then we have to just see Megan just like slowly wither away. I was like, that wouldn't be fun. So I don't know. Because we've seen both things happen on Survivor, right? Where the strong people get together and they're like, we're just going to win all the challenges. We're going to vote out all the weak people and there's nothing they can do about it. And then we've seen people like, be like, no, we can't let the big strong people get all the way to the end because they're going to win. So we got to take them out earlier. I like the dynamics of that happening, but it's a lot more fun when the people are attacking the strong as opposed to the strong attacking the weaker people.
I think the thing about the unanimous situation, which we've seen all season, is because they have had some things that are votes, right? And okay, whatever. But when it's something so important like this, what's good about the unanimous is that you have to decide. It's basically up to you to decide, do we take one for the team here for strategic reasons, or do we put our foot down? And by Jake's team putting their foot down, I think that probably goes in everyone's head and says, all right, if we're able to strike Jake, we're going to hit him even harder. And it might even push Abby and Jared from being like, Jake's team is the reason we're all having to suffer this way. But it allows them to not just be piled on. I don't know. I can go back and forth. I like that the show has a mix of both types of formats, which is good.
I agree. I think we need more variables. I think sometimes we need it to be unanimous and sometimes we don't. But I do like the idea that you can't just hide behind, well, it's not unanimous. So, I want people to have to stand by their vote. And so it's really hard to punish Jake's team for being like, no, if we're going down, we'll take everybody with you. But I would love for Jake's team to be able to hold it against somebody. Like, oh, okay, well, it didn't have to be us. I asked you to work with us. We had an agreement, but it's not all my fault that Jake, that we've made this decision and now everybody doesn't have a shelter. I can blame someone too. And I think here, they can't blame anybody. They still have to eat this. This is still a Jake move. Forcing everybody to go to down to the scraps is still a Jake move. And it's a win for Jake too. So I don't know. I agree. I think we're both on the fence now. You've talked me into both directions.
I don't know. I think it's very interesting, but well, let's talk a little bit about the decision making that comes up. And I think this is a classic case of they've been out here too long and they are tired and sleep deprived and brain dead, because what is this decision making? So Megan is going to end up taking, they get to pick 3 items. She takes a sleeping bag, a tarp, and a knife. What do you need a knife for? Why not the fire making stuff? I'm so confused. You have to assume, because I think we are both predicting that there is going to be something in the end where they need to make a fire.
Yeah.
So I don't know what's going on. Haley,
even if you just needed to sleep tonight, it would be nice to have a fire. The knife is crazy.
Haley takes a blanket, a tarp, and a rope.
Yeah, in case I need to tie my tarp.
Instead of a flint or another blanket. No, this one, I don't understand this one. Woody.
These people must have thought they had fire waiting on them. Yeah, they had to. Because nobody took fire.
Woody takes a blanket, a tarp, and a can of beans. And everyone else just pounds all their food. They're like, I've got some peanut butter left over. I'm just eating this. I'm whatever. And Woody's like, no, I need to take these cans of beans. Eat the cans of beans and then take something else. Like probably that flint you just got. What?
Press the button, Blake. Blake, press the button. We said this episode 1. Blake, we're back. Press the button. What is delirious? What is he doing? For a can of beans? A can? 1 can? What? Press the button, Blake. Get him out of there. Get my boy out the game.
Jake takes a tarp, a sleeping bag, and matches. And he at least takes fire making stuff, but still his brothers are like, why not the ferro rod? Why did you take the temporary fire making starter instead of the permanent one? What is happening?
I
What
don't
is
know
the
what happened to
decision
the ferro
making?
rods. We were given so many ferro rods at the beginning of the season. Me and you were like,
Jacobin
have
probably
you ever
had like
used one
18 of
these?
them. Like, what
At
happened?
least. And now, like, all of a sudden, people are like packing their stuff up, like, well, I lost the ferro rod. I guess I'll just keep. Oh, what did you do with these rods? Nobody grabbed a ferro rod.
No.
Nobody.
I don't understand. So we have no clue. We don't know what's going on. None of them took the right things. All of the family members are shocked by their survivalists not taking the fire starters. They're just like, what are we doing? They all start trekking through, and this is where we start getting a lot of like Haley talking about how she might pass out, how she feels tired, but she's still like moving around big heavy logs. What is she doing? I don't know.
She's determined to get okay. At like about halfway through this supersized episode, we got Haley's episode of MTV Cribs. She like, hey y'all, I just want to show y'all how I'm living. All right, this is where the magic happens. Like Haley gave us a grand tour. I thought that was so funny in the moment because I thought this show is so unserious. Why are y'all showing us Haley just hanging out? It's groovy, baby. Like she like showing you all the rooms in her home, and now we see the contrast is that Haley misses living in the penthouse, you know, and so she's gonna try and use whatever energy she has left to make sure she has somewhere to sleep. I mean, I guess the alternative is being like Woody and just laying on the ground.
I think the understanding that I'm getting is like Haley's really cold. That's her big thing. She doesn't have a sleeping bag, and so she is feeling like I need to build at least some sort of shelter to protect me, which makes sense, I guess. I don't know. I'm trying to think. Look, I'm hating on Woody too on whatever he did because it just comes across as pure laziness. Like lay the tarp down and then wrap up in a blanket. But also like, I'm just trying to think physics wise. I do think if you just kind of burritoed yourself in a tarp, I think that might be the warmest option.
Obviously whatever Jake does is the best option probably, right? He had like a mini shelter by the time this is over.
Yeah.
But yeah, Woody's just kind of like, no, I'm just gonna lay down. Like I didn't even see him do like a lean-to. Is that like a thing that they could have done? You know,
I guess. Yeah, I don't know. All I gotta say is, I feel like Megan did not learn her lesson, and she just kind of hangs up the tarp once again in the same way that she had at the beginning. She doesn't slant aside down or anything.
No.
Classic Megan. Yeah, so all this happens. They get another message. Soon there's going to be one last test, and clues and aids to face the last test can be found throughout headquarters. And they find a Morse code book and a big map, and they all kind of study it. And then Austin and Justin go to bed, and eventually Blake and Colin go to bed. Jared stays up, like probably learning Morse code all night. And then Haley's team, Carly and Natalie are up. Because Haley had mentioned like, please stay up and like watch me tonight because it's gonna be a rough night or whatever. Then we get our medical alert for Haley. And Haley's heart rate is like 35 beats per minute, which is crazy. This is what I don't understand. The medical guy's like, hey, I'm really worried about Haley, but it's up to you two to extract her. And I'm like, wait, is it? Are you gonna let her die? Like,
yeah. It's like we're giving you the option. Like, so like if she keeps going like this, she could die. But we're gonna leave it up to you. Because if she dies, our insurance isn't gonna cover it. Like, it's on you. You signed the waiver that you can extract her whenever you wanted to. We're letting you know that we suggest, you know, we're not pulling her for the game per se, but if she was going to get extracted by us, this would be the time where we were doing it. The medical is ready to step in. But you know your girl better than we do. So you do what you gotta do. I want this job so bad. To be just like, it's not looking great. Y'all sure y'all don't want to get her? You don't want to just take her out the game? And they're like, let's sleep on it. Let's see what happens in the morning. This is awful for Natalie and Carly. Like, I think that I've been very high on them just as far as like strategists and just having reads that are really good. They were able to peep out that Jared had gotten that bad, the mealworms in that box or the grubs or whatever. Like, they're locked in and they know Haley really well. So I just hate that they have to now deal with this because they know that Haley is a soldier. She could do this. But also, it's hard to ignore that all of the survivalists have gone to different levels of health that they've never been to. Like each of them is in elevated except for Jake, who's in moderate for the first.
Right.
I mean, no, each of them is in severe except for Jake, who's in elevated for the first time. So like they're all at their breaking points. And so to get this added thing, for me, Mary, just take her out the game. Don't give us the option. If you think she's that bad, go get her. Like if the medical people think that it's bad enough to come wake us up or to come get us off the couch and say, hey, we need to talk, then you should have just pulled her anyway. You know, I don't know. I felt like this was such an uncomfortable position to be in.
Yeah, it definitely felt that way. I feel like once again, I don't think medical is actually going to let her die. And so I think that they'll just most likely what's going to happen is that Carly and Natalie are going to say, okay, we need to think about this. We'll watch her. We'll keep a close eye on her. And if she looks like she's about to pass out or something, we'll extract her. But like, if they don't extract her, I think medical is just going to say, I'm sorry, we've, let this go on long enough. We're going to take matters into our own hands. That's my gut, at least, because it's a TV show and they know that they're not just going to let her die, most likely. Hopefully.
Right. Probably. Right.
It's not, we've compared it to Hunger Games, but it's not real Hunger Games.
It's not real Hunger Games. You know, we assume they wouldn't let the bear eat Megan.
We assume.
We assume. And so here, I think this is one of those things where it's left up to people in the HQ, but production has reserved the right to give you some like actionable advice. You know, like, hey, if it gets real to where we would be concerned, we'll come and tell you. Yeah. Because there's a good chance that, you know, like we talked about from the beginning, that somebody has just decided, unless my person says extract me, we're not extracting them. And there's nothing you can do to make us. It's like, okay, that's fine. But let us at least be able to outline your options here, you know, and let you know that it's gotten to the point where you should really consider it. You know, we know this is a game, but we have medical professionals on hand to give you the information that could help you make a more informed decision for your, survivalist.
Yeah, exactly. The one other thing I wanted to mention from this episode is early on in the episode, Haley is up on camera and Carly and Natalie are not in the room watching because it's early in the morning, but Haley is saying basically, hey, I'm so glad I'm working with Megan. I really want to continue working with Megan. I like our alliance. Abby and Jared are going to go tell Carly and Natalie this, like, hey, the girls, we're talking again about their alliance. And Carly and Natalie are going to assume that he's lying and that this is like just a ploy to get them together. And that's when they decide on the whole like 1-2 hand signal thing. I think this is interesting that happened because I don't know. Do you feel like that was at all a ploy? I don't think so.
I think this is strategy. I think that if I'm Natalie and Carly, I'm thinking, well, this is a very convenient time for you to come and do this.
Well, that's true.
You've known about this alliance since Jacobin was here, and you didn't immediately come over to us and say, okay, final 2, bet. Right. You've been working really close with Jake. It's wild that now all of a sudden at the fight, like, we're in the final moments of the game, and you're like, oh, don't forget about the alliance that we had. Like, did you forget about the alliance that we have? Because you should have been attacking Jake when we were attacking Jake. What's going on? So I don't know. I personally probably would have been like, all right, it's too late for that, because if I can't get to Jake, I'm coming after Megan, right. Like that. We talked about that when we were talking about whose camera do you cut. Cutting Jake's camera doesn't do anything. Cutting Megan's camera in a weird way would weaken Jake because Megan's team is working with Jake. So It's kind of like you can get rid of Abby and Jared. Now it's Blake and Colin and Carly and Natalie versus Team Jake. And we might have a game, so I probably would have told Jared, okay, cool. And then went on back to what we were doing.
Yeah. And Natalie is the holdout. Like she's the one who's like, I don't want to go against Megan. I want to keep this going strong. I want to do what Haley likes. But, Carly, who was quieter throughout the beginning of the season, she's like, no, come to the dark side. We're working with Blake and Colin.
Mm-hmm. Carly showed us way back in the letters we're getting burned. She don't play around. That's why I said I've been saying this for weeks. I would be terrified to go up against these two women. They just like, they are locked in. And so, yeah, it felt like Natalie was losing sight. And Carly's like, nah, come on back.
Yeah.
Come on back. It's crunch time. This is where the game is about to be won.
Yeah, it is. All right. Well, here's what I think we should do. I think we should do our final tier list. We should make our final predictions of what order everyone's coming in the game.
I'm so nervous. All right, cool. Yeah, I'm very nervous by this because like I'll assume the next episode is the finale, and so we will be seeing who was our first winner of Extracted, and hopefully it's a good, solid finale, but we shall see.
All right. So 4 teams left. Do we want to start with? Do we want to go fourth to first? What do we want to do?
Well, first we got to eulogize all our people again.
Oh, right. Yes.
Our ritualistic.
We can't not mention everyone who's been here the whole time. So shout out to Anthony for
yes
popping, for making us so interested in the show just based on the premiere episode. So can't
Who
never
was second?
Forget. Second was Davina, our girl.
She lasted so long. I thought she had made it maybe to the third boot, but yeah, she lasted for a long time for someone who had nothing for days.
And then it's so surprising to remember the fact that Ashley was third out.
Right. We were all in.
Thought Ashley was gonna win. All in on her.
We were all in. Then Rose.
Rose was fourth. Yep. Same day. And so all 3 of them went out on the same day, but just different times. And then, surprise, surprise, Ryan W.
What a shocker.
Yeah, that's still shocking. Still the most drama, I think, from the whole season in terms of the viewership. Then Robin. They had a lot going on while they were here.
Yeah, pour one out for Faith. She was a fighter. Put Faith on the show. Yeah, put Faith on TV.
Shout out to Uncle Terrence and Jacobin.
Yeah. I'll never forget how I felt when he got in that water with fully dressed. I was like, okay, press the button.
And then our most recently fallen Ryan H.
Yeah, Ryan H. What could have been? But now we're down to the final 4, and we have 3 remaining spots left because we're only working with baseline, elevated, and severe because everybody is basically in severe and elevated right now. So anybody could go. But I do want to say that it would be crazy not to put Jake at baseline.
Yeah, I think Jake is still most likely to win at this point.
All right. So
here's the question I have. Do we think that the medical situation with Haley is going to prevent her from winning the game?
So I was locked in on the next time on Extracted. Like I was looking to see if she was in a lot of scenes, and they did show her a lot. So, and then I was looking at HQ to see if I could see Natalie or Carly, and they showed them. So I'm thinking she's probably not getting medevac next. Like I don't think the next episode starts with Haley leaving.
I don't think so either.
So I can't count her out, but I do think that there's no world where the medical people are stepping in and we put her anywhere higher than severe. Like I think Haley has to be the closest one to getting eliminated by far now, because we've never seen production have to step in any sort of situation ever before this. This is unprecedented. So I think
do you think that means that you think she's coming in 4th place?
Oh yeah, because we're choosing the order, right?
Yeah, I think we should choose the order.
Do you think she could come back from that? Do you think that there's a world where she doesn't get last based on her current health? Like what do they do to get her back to fighting trim? Because right now it feels like, I know I've said Haley and Megan can both beat me in a swim, but Haley in her current state, I'd pick me. And that's bad.
Here's what I'd say. Based on what we know of the final challenge, which is going to have something to do with navigation in a map, something to do with Morse code, I think that based on past precedent, Megan is doing the worst.
Okay.
I think if there's a swim component, Megan might be able to pick up a little bit, but Megan has gotten lost almost every time she's had to navigate somewhere.
Okay. I like this. Do you think that Haley has enough to outflank Woody? Because we have...
That's where it's close.
Because that's the thing. I actually think it's pretty close between Woody and Megan. I don't trust Woody anymore. After seeing these last few decisions, the steak, not picking fire, basically just sleeping on the ground. Who's to say that Megan can't beat Woody?
So you think Woody is going to be our 4th place finisher?
I don't think so. But I think that it's closer between Woody and Megan than it is between Haley. I think, well, yeah, honestly,
I think if Haley doesn't get medically evacuated, I think that
she's second place.
2nd or 3rd. I don't think that she's last. Just based on the challenge. I just think from what we've seen, Haley found her crate before Woody and Megan did.
Yeah. Haley's she's such a gangster. She could do this. Okay.
Woody did better in the raft thing. I think Megan has just, with the exception of the swim, Megan has done the worst in almost every challenge.
Yes, her superpower is that she's a survivor. You know, like Megan is she's gonna stick it out when it looks when the going gets tough, she's still there. You know, and we've seen Megan at her lowest several times. But I think that now, knowing that Jake is kind of out of reach for a lot of people, and I think if Jake is able to protect himself, I think a lot of the shots that people are going to aim at Jake are going to land on Megan, due to her proximity to Abby and the alliance. So yeah, I agree. It's sad because I'm really like hoping that it's really close, but I think that Megan is in 4th place. I'm willing to put Haley at 2nd and Woody at 3rd. And so yeah, I think that's our order. This is our prediction. Our prediction. Now, we don't know if there's a placing at the end. We don't know if it's going to be like a race or if there's a thing they have to do. Do you think there's going to be any extractions? Like, is the games just going to be some type of finish, or are they going to do something to them, maybe like endurance wise, where someone has to extract them? Yeah, I can't really understand what the end game mechanism can be.
I think if they're going to have to make fire, I could see this being like a phased kind of thing. Like you gotta make fire, you gotta do a swim, you gotta go do this, you gotta do that. And I could see Woody and even potentially Megan just giving up on the fire, like not being able to.
Yeah. And then at that point you have to find a 2 and they probably have to race or something like that. Because like I said, Outlast, the game was to outlast, but at the end it still ended up being a race. So I think until we figure out better ways to end these survival shows, it's always going to come down to, can you do a really physical thing or a survivalist thing, in order to show that you are the one who deserves to win, when in reality the game is extracted. We should be playing this game until people are taken out of the game. Maybe a vote. Any world where there's a jury vote.
I don't think so, and I would hope there's not. I mean, I don't love the like challenge ending, but I will accept it if it has enough stages where people could catch up if someone struggles, because that's kind of that's how it works on shows like The Challenge. The only other thing that I would sort of be okay with would be if multiple people could win, and it's sort of if you all finish this thing, you all get to win.
Do you like multiple people winning? Because I'm gonna tell you right now, I don't.
Multiple people winning. So here's what I would like. You've all lasted. You've all not been extracted. You've all made it this far. We're gonna do a competition at the end. It's a multi-phase adventure challenge with survival elements. You need to be able to start a fire. You need to navigate this thing. You need to whatever, do different
raft.
things. Yeah. Anyone who finishes will get a win. However, the order in which you finish will determine how much you win. That I would be okay with. So it's still a race, but that you haven't lost
because you didn't get extracted.
You've completed. You've done everything that you need to do to complete it. Although we did see something about a waterfall and a helicopter, and it does look like it's going to be a sort of a thing of like the only person who gets to the waterfall first or whatever is going to get lifted up in the helicopter, and they are extracted for good. They're out of the wilderness, and everyone else suffered.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Didn't that happen to Katniss? Didn't she get snatched out of the roof? I seen that.
Normally a bad thing, but
yeah. Did you watch The Summit?
I did not. No.
So The Summit, I'm not gonna spoil the winner, but The Summit had this kind of a similar ending. If you made it to the summit, you won. But Then they did a jury vote. And the jury vote determined who won the most.
Gotcha.
So there was multiple winners, but there was one winner. But see, when I said on the podcast, because Taryn and I were covering it, when I said, well, this person, the person who won the jury vote, won the summit. The summit contestants were in the comments. They're like, no, we won. We won. And me and Taryn are like, okay, sure. You know, like, sure you did. But you didn't really win. Like, it's one winner. I like there to be one winner, Mary. So I don't know.
What about this? If you all complete this challenge, you all win, but only the top 3. So whoever is last gets nothing.
Oh. Huh. Okay.
I don't know.
Okay. There's something there, but we don't know how it's going to end. So we just have to tune in this week and find out.
We will. So we will see, and we will let everyone know our thoughts on that when it happens. We'll see whether or not we get any sort of finale exit interviews, and we'll let you know on that. Obviously, none this week, but let us know your predictions on how you think it'll go. And, obviously Jake's been the strongest, but does that mean just, the strongest person who participates in the game deserves to win? I don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
Mm-hmm.
I love the idea that you could just sort of survive, and like the way Megan is, outlast, survive. You're struggling, but you're surviving. You're not thriving, and you could still somehow win the game. I would like to know what that scenario is. So
right. Had Davina been able to just stick it out, know,
like you could. I like the idea that this could be a game that is literally just you need to outlast, not get extracted, and you still have the ability to win. Now, obviously, I think we all know from a TV standpoint, they cannot just have these people sitting in they either are not going to want to do all right, we're just going to stop sending you any supplies, just sit there and see who can live the longest without dying. Like, no, they're not going to do that. And then they also can't just like continue the game inevitably for months and months and months, because I think there'll be multiple people who just wouldn't quit. So there's got to be some sort of way to wrap this up, but it's tricky. We'll see. Yeah. All right. Well, Chappell, where else can everyone find you?
recapkickback.com/subscribe. We'll subscribe you to my podcast, but you can also catch me on the Nothing But Netflix podcast. We talked about the Pop the Balloon live show on Netflix. It was me and Chantel. It was insane. It was just such a stupid show, and we enjoyed talking about it. We're really going to talk about it again this week too on Recap Kickback. But you got to tune in for Nothing But Netflix to see all of the stuff we talk about there. Battle Camp, the Netflix reality all-star competition show, is coming soon, and I will be covering that on Nothing But Netflix. So make sure if you like this kind of show and you want to see people doing competitions and going up against each other, Battle Camp coming soon. And you can see that on the RHAP YouTube page. So make sure you subscribe to RHAP or RHAP has a podcast on YouTube, so you can see more of this kind of content, because Kirsten and I are going to do it. We might even do a tier list, Mary. You kind of inspired me to do more visual aspects for these video podcasts. So people have to tune in and see what other ideas I steal from you in the future.
Sounds good. You know what? I'm happy to help get the ball rolling in that manner, because it's fun.
It is.
And it's funny. I never thought we'd get to a point on this show where I would know everyone's names, but we've still got 12 people left in the game, and I've got them all. I got this locked. I know everybody.
Yes. Yeah, we got it.
Don't ask me what Rose's aunt's name was, because I don't remember that one.
Rose she just didn't get the greatest edit,
No, she just didn't get much screen time, but
yeah.
Oh well. Yeah. And then on my end, everyone, you can follow me everywhere at Frail Mary and check out everything I'm doing. Check out my newsletter and see what else is around the corner. We're entering some more shows coming soon. I feel like it's the reality TV engine. Things wrap up, things start going. So this might be heading toward the end of Extracted, but we are getting ready for some more things. And before you know it, Big Brother just right around the corner.
Mary, we got to find something else to talk about too. This is fun. This is we don't podcast together enough. I feel like I check in with you every now and then and be like, Mary, I heard you on a podcast. You did really great.
Yeah.
But rarely do we do this. And this was good.
This was good. This whole thing, Extracted, it was fine, but it was really just a chance for me and Chappell to get together. So
yeah, it's about time.
All right, everyone. Until next time.
Peace.
This is RHAP. We know reality TV.